right?
Yeah.
I am thinking about starting a space very much like this, like a
Mhm.
podcast where I can share with other women the things that
Yeah.
I've learned over the years and the challenges that I've navigated through from,
Mhm.
being in a shelter, a homeless shelter with a baby to, you know, like now being here, which again, only God can take the credit, right?
Yeah.
Because we talked about some of the things that I've
Great.
been through, and you're like, what? And I'm like, yeah.
We talked about it, and I was like, you do not look like what you've been through,
Yeah, it's
and
only God.
how God just takes us through
Mm-hmm.
the valley of the shadow of death. And
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
you'll go through the fire and you
Mm-hmm.
will not be burned, go through the
Absolutely.
waters and you won't be overwhelmed, and
Absolutely.
His grace is just sufficient.
Absolutely. Because if I could tell you the stuff that was happening at that shelter, you would be like, how did you come out of there with no fights, no scratches, no, like nothing?
All right. Hello, hello. Hi,
Hi.
Deverine. Thank you for coming on to activate her purpose. I appreciate your time. And just to clarify, is it Deverine or is it Deverine?
So
I
it
love
depends
your
on who
name,
you
by the way.
ask. Thank you. Thank you. It depends on who you ask because when I first moved to the US, that was the first time I heard my name being pronounced Deverine. Um,
Ah,
yes, so most people say Deverin. Um,
okay.
my mom says kind of like a version of Deverine. She hasn't called me in a while because she hasn't been angry, when they get angry and they say your full name.
Yeah, I know
Yes.
exactly what you mean.
But yeah, so Deverine, I
Green.
like,
Okay.
yeah.
I like it. Both versions I like.
Yeah.
I think Devon rolls
Mm-hmm.
off your tongue a little easier.
Mm-hmm.
Deverine is just
Yeah.
like, you know, just
Yeah.
je ne sais quoi, or what is that?
Yeah.
It's beautiful name.
Thank you.
And thank
Thank
you for
you.
coming on. We really appreciate you. And I believe that this conversation is going to be something that many women across the United States, across the world, will enjoy and gain a lot of insight from, because it's unique in the sense that a lot of women could be terrified, and I won't give it away just yet. I would love to actually give you an official introduction before we get started. And if you're new here, my name is Shola, and I am the founder of Activate Her Purpose. And Activate Her Purpose empowers women to step boldly into our calling, embrace our gifts, and live the life that we are meant to live with confidence. And that said, I will introduce Deverine James, who is a trader, an educator, a wealth strategist on a mission to redefine financial freedom for modern women. With a background in agile project leadership and technical analysis, she treats trading not as a gamble, but as a disciplined business and a path to freedom. Amen. And as the founder of a growing trading cohort, Devon helps aspiring traders move from emotional decision making to clarity, consistency, and sustainable performance. Her core belief is wealth building should not cost you your nervous system. Amen, somebody. But before the strategy, the cohorts, and the clarity, there was a story. And today, Deverin takes us back to the beginning, sharing how her early childhood experiences shaped the woman, the mother, and the wealth builder she is becoming. Because the way we learn to survive often becomes the blueprint for how we learn to thrive. And I believe that 100%. So today she's here to talk about trading psychology, wealth creation, identity shifts, and designing a life where profit and peace coexist. And it all starts with where she came from. So thank you again, Deverine, for
Yes, thank you for
stopping
having me.
by on our channel. And I know this is going to be a great conversation. And
Yeah.
so before we start, I want you to take us all the way back. Like I said, a lot of the women that I've interviewed, they have a story. And I know you do too, because we chatted the other day and we chatted for 2 hours and we didn't
We
even
did.
know when the time passed.
Yes.
So I want, us to have that conversation today and take us back to where everything began with you. What was the young Deverine like growing up, and where what were some of your early experiences that shaped the woman you are today?
So I was born in Grenada, the beautiful tiny little island that's still
Hmm.
not on the map for most people. I have a huge wall map in my room and there's no Grenada on it.
Really?
Yeah, it's people, you have to look and check your map and see if it's
Yeah.
on there, but it's really tiny. Grew up, grandfather being a fisherman, grandmother being a maid and a homemaker.
Hmm.
And my mom moved to the US to study I was really young. She went back and forth. I went back and forth. And I really grew up not knowing much about money,
Hmm.
not knowing anything about money, understanding that it existed, but didn't place too much value on it because we had everything we needed. I
That's
didn't
right.
realize that I was poor until I
Yeah.
moved to the US.
Isn't that
So
interesting?
yes, so I grew up playing on the beach every day, going on the beach before school, eating
Living your
fresh
best life.
food, living my best life, being sunburnt with this hair, just
Yeah.
wetting my hair every day, just
Hmm.
not even caring, like being a natural girl was not a thing because of course my hair
Right.
was
Everybody
natural.
was natural.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, just being, right?
Mm.
And my mom kept me in America 1 year when I came to visit for summer. It was an
Mhm.
unplanned staying because
Mm.
I was supposed to go back. My flight was booked for Sunday, like it always is. You come for summer break, you go back
Go
home. I was
back.
going into my third year of high school there. And so in Grenada, we start high school a little bit younger, depending
Mhm.
on this test that we take called the Common Entrance Test.
Yeah, we
So I
have
took
that
the
in
test.
Nigeria as
Oh,
well.
you do?
We
I
do.
didn't know
Yeah.
that. Okay, so I
Yes.
took the test at 10 and I passed it at
Yeah.
10. So I started high school at 11, right?
That's so funny that that's the
Yeah.
same way. A lot of
Oh,
the high
okay.
schoolers start around 10, 11, and you
Yeah.
would think
hmm
that's really young.
No,
Ah,
but and
interesting.
the thing is too culturally, like I feel like you're a mini adult already by the time you're
Yeah.
10.
And
I
you
was
think
taking
you're
two buses.
an
You
adult.
do. Yeah, I was taking two buses to get to
Hmm.
school already on
Hmm.
my own, right?
Yeah.
From one parish to the next,
Yes.
completely on my own, and then coming home on my own. Nowadays, having a 10-year-old take a bus is like
It's
it,
unheard of.
it, it's unheard of, right? So yeah, so my mom kept me here one summer unexpectedly. It's so funny because my childhood best friend, her and I are still connected, and she sent me a screenshot of the letter that I sent her when yeah, I was so sad. I was
Oh,
so angry. I was heartbroken. I was like, it's gonna get cold, and I
oh,
don't like the
I can't go
snow.
to the beach.
I can't go to the beach was my life. They used to call me the Little Mermaid. So my grandfather
Uh-oh.
fishing, I was always on the boat. I was literally his hip. Okay.
Mm,
So, beach bum all the way. Even when I go
mm.
back home, you can find me on the beach. My friends would be like, "Oh, you don't want to go to the club. You don't want." Nope, not
Nope.
interested.
The
Put
beach.
me on the beach, okay? And a lot has changed because Grenada now has a ton of like luxury hotels that are built
Mm,
on the beach, and we
okay.
live above those hotels. So we oversee the beach,
Hmm.
and it took like I would say like a 5-minute walk to get to the
Okay.
beach. So you're like on top of a hill, the beach is down below, you see
Mm-hmm.
everything. So we have a
Yeah.
beautiful view. But now the hotels that are built there blocked off those pathways. So
Yeah.
the locals can't even walk through unless
So like
they're
gentrification of some sort.
yeah. So, when a lot of people don't go to the beach anymore because also
Mhm.
think about the waste that's coming from those hotels. They're going
Right.
into our water, right? So that's a
Oh,
whole nother story. I'm like, if I was
yeah.
there, I would have been fighting for my beach.
You're like, no,
God
get out of
knows.
here.
I would have been fighting for my beach. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I grew up really simple, very laid back life. No cares in the world, moved here, and I grew up in an extended household, and I think that's really important to talk about as part of
Yeah.
my upbringing because I had grandmother, grandfather, aunt, two uncles, and granduncle all in the same house, right?
Wow.
All in the same household. So I
If you think about
and
that now in
oh my
where
gosh.
we are now, it's like,
Oh
first
my
of all,
gosh.
people will
I
think
would
of,
do it all over again. No
well,
questions
what my
asked.
point is, even the way we live now, some people will think it's an inconvenience or it's like, why is everybody in our house? But back then and there,
Oh my
totally
gosh.
different.
It's so beautiful. Like I didn't appreciate it as much as I do
Mm,
now as an adult.
yeah,
But like I would sit and talk to my grand uncle on
right.
the stoop about stuff that I don't even know what he was talking about at the time, right? But
Yeah,
like to have those intergenerational conversations
yes,
and feel that intergenerational love, right? Because you're getting
right.
love from all these different areas.
Yes.
So while my father was not actively present, like
Mm,
he was there, he still lives in Grenada, I
hmm.
still had father figures,
Right.
multiples of them,
No, and that's
right?
missing nowadays,
Yeah.
where the wisdom, even,
Hmm.
aside from the fact that everybody's on their phones
Right.
24/7, but
Hmm.
even the wisdom that is being lost in
Just those
intergenerationally.
conversations, right? And even
Yeah.
as a kid, not really having a vision of what my great grand looked like, but having a
Yeah.
conversation about who he was and what he did.
Yes. You're right.
That's
That's
amazing,
priceless.
right? Like we used to sit down and talk about that and talk about my grand aunt and talk about my
Mm,
great grands and,
yeah.
all of those things. And same thing with my grandmother. I was very close to my grandmother.
Mm,
I would argue that she was one of the most influential women in my life
mm,
because I saw this woman raise everybody in the community. Okay.
yeah.
And she sold ice. She sold ice to make money. Like
She was an
when you think about it,
entrepreneur. Okay.
it's like she sold ice, she made tampon balls, she made
Hmm.
guava cheese, she made,
Mm,
all these things, and she sold them, and we never went without. But
mm.
I didn't think about that being an impact in my life
Yeah.
until I started growing up because I just saw this was normal. This was everyday life for me.
Yeah.
People will come knock on the door and say, "Hey, can we buy a glass
Buy
of ice?"
this, buy
And
that.
I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, sure, give me money and that's it. We
That's a
sold.
great segue into
Mhm.
what I wanted to ask
Yeah,
next, which
yeah.
was, when did you start thinking and realizing that you thought about money in a different way, or when did you start thinking differently about money?
So I went to a high school in Boston, charter school, and it was actually the number 8 school in the country for a while.
Hmm.
And the founder of that school was very wealthy, is very wealthy. He is still. He actually had me go speak. He had me write an essay and go speak at a conference in Nantucket. Okay,
Hmm.
14 years old,
Hmm.
writing about entrepreneurship. So my high school actually bought a Sprint store. I don't know if we remember Sprint now, because
Sprint. I
Sprint is
remember
like,
Sprint. Hmm.
but we owned a Sprint store as part of the high school, and a few of
Okay.
the students ran the store as part of our schoolwork as
Oh,
entrepreneurs.
wow,
Yeah. He
that's
was very
amazing.
innovative. He was the first to do a lot of things. We had 24/7 tutors that lived in the building. We
Wow,
took
that's a
classes at
great
Boston.
school.
We took classes at Boston University and Boston College as part of graduating. So if you didn't
Hmm.
pass those, like we actually sat in college classes, and if you didn't pass those
Mm.
classes, you would not graduate high school. Very
Wow.
innovative, right?
Yeah, that
But
is.
during those times, like for example, going to Nantucket,
Hmm.
mind blowing. Because where my mom lives in Boston is not very wealthy,
Mm,
right? And then
hmm
being exposed to that and being so he chose me and one of my of a friend and two little black girls
mm,
on Nantucket
mm,
took the ferry to go and all of those things in a room of mostly white men,
hmm
right? Couple of women, but I do remember speaking out and seeing a lot of white men and them talking about money, them talking about entrepreneurship. And again, the 14-year-old brain is soaking this up,
Yeah.
not really realizing that it's going to shift the way that
You
I
thought.
look at things.
Mm,
Couple years later, I ended up not going to college. I got accepted to 15 colleges, but based on life, I wasn't able to attend at the
mm-hmm.
time. And I ended up working in retail and I ended up in luxury retail, Barney's, New York. So I'm
Okay.
selling candles for $6,000.
Wow.
Like I had a client who would buy $6,000 worth of candles every 2 to 3 months.
Okay.
And I'm like,
Just like
what are you
that.
doing with this? You know? And she used to fly in. So she actually lived in Dallas and she used to
Okay.
fly into Boston. I think she had like, business there or whatever, and would come and she's like, do you have my stuff ready for me? And we would rush and get all these, because each candle anyway, they were the big ones. I'm not sure
Yeah.
if you're familiar with the teak, but they were the
Yeah.
big,
hmm
like the bay
hmm
and those, I don't know how much they retail for now, but at the time they were like 2.99 a piece or
Mm.
2.49 depending on, you
Did you get
know,
a commission off of each
I
one?
did, yeah, I did. I did really well. I became like one of the top salespeople in that department in no time
Wow.
because I was selling fragrances that were $400 and,
Mm.
again, but just being around people who were spending
Right.
without a second thought, right?
Mm.
Spending my entire month's paycheck,
Mm.
right?
Mm. Mm.
Like this.
Mm.
So my mind was like, okay, how are they making all of this money? So yes,
Yeah.
I was making really good money for being 19 years old, 20
hmm
years old, 21, I'm making thousands of dollars
Yeah.
because I was getting a good commission, but
And
still
you didn't know what to do with it, I'm sure,
didn't
at
know what
that
to do
point.
with it. Absolutely, and I was spending it. I used to take my friends out to dinner, and I was dating somebody at the time, and he would be like, "Why are you paying for everybody at the table?" I'm like, "Cause I got it. Cause I got
Got
it."
it.
And he used to be so upset because he's like, "You're
Yeah.
literally, there's like 10 people here, and you're paying
Paying for
for
everyone.
everyone."
Because there was no
And
purpose around the money you were making.
nope, there was no purpose. There was just me making money.
Mm,
And, I had my own apartment. I was the only one that had my own apartment at the time. I didn't have a car. I didn't have any kids. Yeah. And then when I started going to college, same thing. It's like I had the money, I was just living.
mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, I think that was around the time where I started realizing like, okay, money is nice
Okay.
to have.
Yeah.
Money is
Okay,
nice to have.
so behind every powerful journey and
Mm-hmm.
story, I know there's a turning point. And
Mm-hmm.
because I've talked to you before, I know when things started turning. But for the sake of our audience, I
Mm-hmm.
want you to kind of take us through that turning point and when you first started realizing that you wanted more control over your money. And I know trading was one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Did it first start with trading? And just take us through that journey where there was a light bulb moment.
So I went to school for business, right? And I was introduced to the stock market, but never really understood what was happening. So
Mhm.
I didn't even know that it was an option. I did
Mm,
not know that it was an option to take control of my money. I didn't
right.
really understand what a 401k was. I knew that when
hmm
I wanted to move from Boston to New York, I
Okay.
cashed my 401k out. I know that part,
Yeah. Those are
right?
the
Because I needed the
basics.
money, right? But it was not until my early 30s that I was introduced to trading,
Trading.
investing,
Right.
really understanding that you could actually go into the market and
Yeah.
manage your own money like
Like
that.
what? What a concept.
And I'm like, all these years I had all this money, I did not
hmm
know that I can use that
Use it.
money to do something else because I did network
Yeah.
marketing for 7 years and I
Right.
did pretty well and I was
Mm-hmm.
making six figures. I was making money,
Mm.
but when you make the money and you don't know what to do with it, you spend it, right?
You
Because you're
just waste
spending
it. Mm-hmm.
15,000. I remember there were some months where I spent 15,000, 20,000 a month, right?
Mm.
And I was living in an apartment that was $1,500. So it's not like I lived,
Mm.
so it's like, what did you spend the money on? Eating
Mm.
out, mani-pedis, hair, like whatever, clothes,
Mm.
just like
Just
throwing it
stuff.
away. Just stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And with that, when I was introduced to the concept of being able to trade or go into the stock market and, buy and sell stocks or ETFs,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, what? You can do this? And then you take a
Is this
cut
legal?
and then it's, yeah. No, seriously, I literally was like, there's no way because people do so many illegal things to make it in this country, right?
Mm.
Or even just watching my mom work two and three jobs just
Of
to make sure
course.
we had a
Yeah.
roof over our head and food to eat.
Mm.
And, as a single mom. And I'm
Mm.
like, wait a minute. So all of this, there's a secret life over here
Mm-hmm. That people are actually living.
that people are living where you can learn,
Mm.
right? That's the biggest part. The biggest part is that it's accessible to learn and you can learn for free, one,
Right.
just from
Right.
going through a brokerage and going to the education tab.
Yeah.
Literally all of the information is there
Mm-hmm.
and you can practice and you can learn this and you can do it. It's not something that you have to be born with. It's not something that your family has to know. It's
Mm.
not something that you have to come from. And the best part about the market, I always say this, your skin color doesn't matter, your hair
Yeah.
texture doesn't matter. It's not
Mm.
like when I work in corporate and people are like, "Oh, can I touch your hair?"
Mhm.
None of that exists.
None of this matters.
They don't know who you are, right?
Yes.
And the stock market won't go anywhere because it benefits
Mhm.
the parties that it benefits, right? So they're
Yeah.
not, the most I would say is, I remember in my learning journey, they mentioned that the stock market was not accessible unless you had a certain amount of money
Money.
to
Hmm.
enter, right? And that changed with all the changes that happened over the years.
Right.
So that's why there are so many more people
Equal.
participating. So if anything, they might make a change sometime in the future and say, okay, well,
Hmm.
now we need you to have $25,000 to
Yeah.
participate,
But
right?
until then,
But until then, right, we have access, we can learn. I spoke to a mom yesterday and we had such a good conversation because she said to me, she really wants to do this, but she has kids and she doesn't have time and she this and that and that. And I was like, trust me, if anybody knows,
mm,
okay, but you have to have your North Star,
yeah,
right?
you have
You
to
have
know
to
you.
rate, you have to create your own blueprint because you have to start learning when you think you don't need to learn.
Mm,
I started learning this in 2019
mm,
with jobs, with being a single mom, with
mm,
layoffs,
mm.
with life happening,
Life.
you know. Um, and I just know that it's something that it's not going anywhere.
Mm,
And it's going to allow me the freedom, the time to do the things that God called me to do, but
yeah.
also to help other people, right? So yeah, so when I learned about it, I was like, I can't put this down, no matter how much of a learning curve it is, because depending on your background, it will be a learning curve, a bigger
Yeah.
one, some than others, right? And I actually landed in the fintech space because I had the financial literacy knowledge. It wasn't the other way
Wow.
around. So I worked in the cosmetics beauty space for
Mm,
most of my career. I landed at a cosmetics manufacturing company, and
mm.
then I ended up getting recruited to be a project manager for a software company.
Okay.
Then it was like, because it's a
So it
language.
was taking you, it's like calling
It's a
you
journey.
into that.
Yeah, it's a
That's
journey.
amazing.
Hmm.
And you've said it pretty plainly that
Hmm.
anyone can do this, but
Anyone. Hmm.
still, because I've spoken to so many women,
Hmm.
the stock market is just intimidating in a way that I don't know if it was intentionally built that way, but when you think about it, until you get into it, you don't realize how easy it is to get
Hmm.
into.
Yeah.
And for many years, women just feel like, no, it's not for me.
But we like
And
going to the mall, right?
yeah, exactly. I mean,
Yeah.
there's just this fear
Hmm.
around trading.
Hmm.
And so I would like you to just give us some of the things that you experienced. What were your hardest lessons that you
Hmm.
learned when you first got in? So if there's someone out there who is wants to dip their toe into trading and just wants to understand the basics, what are some of the hardest lessons? Because I know even though it is easy, there's some
Hmm.
things that has to be understood before you
Hmm.
jump in.
Hmm.
So lay that out for us.
So I would say the hardest lessons have nothing to do with trading.
Hmm.
Nothing at all. I had an amazing therapist for my entire trading career.
Mm,
Absolutely love her to death. And funny enough, when I found her, I did not know that she was a trader. I had no idea. I
mm,
found her woman of God. Her husband is a minister.
mhm,
She has 4 kids, and I was looking for someone because as a single mom, we carry a lot by ourselves,
mm,
right? So I was working in corporate, having a tough time, and I was just looking for someone to talk to,
mhm.
and found out that she was a trader. So a lot of the things that you will deal with in trading is more emotional and
You're
your
right.
awareness of who you are and
Yeah.
what you want and what you stand for, learning how to make decisions. If you're
Hmm.
not a decisive person, if you
Right.
don't know how to pivot and be okay with things going wrong, and these are skills that I've learned
These
over
are
the
life
years.
skills.
These are life skills that I've learned from being having to be resilient, right?
Mm,
Having to move from state to state, having to
hmm,
start over multiple times, right?
mm,
Those are life skills that you will either learn from trading or you will bring to trading, right?
mm.
So
I
those were the
like that.
challenging things. It wasn't the pressing of the buttons. It
Right.
wasn't reading what a candlestick is or what it looks
Yeah.
like. It wasn't figuring out like, okay, this is market structure because it's
Hmm.
going up or down.
Hmm.
Those were
Hmm.
not the things. It was more about being self-aware. And
Yeah.
it continues to be that, right? Like my discipline to sit down. I was just saying to myself, I want to learn a new strategy.
Hmm.
Just a month ago, I sat down and I earned a Scrum Master certificate, a
Mm.
POPM certificate, and a Lean Portfolio Management
Look at
certificate,
that.
all within 2 weeks, right? And I studied for 14-hour days.
Wow.
Now, that same discipline of being applied to trading, it's up
Yeah.
to me to do it because I have no one on me
Right.
saying, okay, you need to study this.
Yeah.
That is where the
Discipline.
discipline has
Yeah.
to come in and say,
That's
okay, but
absolutely
this
right.
is what you're going to get at the end of this when you read, because I had to read books, I had to take
Hmm.
practice tests, I had to,
Hmm.
and I failed
Yeah.
tests and, all
You
of this
gotta fall, you gotta get back up again.
just a couple weeks ago. And you saw that. I posted that in your chat. I'm
Yeah.
like, I just
Yeah.
got all these certs
Yeah.
just in a 2 weeks time
2 week
span,
period.
right? So if we can do that for a job,
Hmm.
right? Because I got these certificates obviously with the intention of applying for jobs in the
Hmm.
tech space
Hmm.
that would pay me more,
Hmm.
right? If we can do that for a job, it's really saying, okay, why can't I do this for myself?
Mm.
And then doing it for yourself because the skill sets of trading will pay you over and over and over again, and it will never
Right.
lay you off. Never
Mm.
gonna lay you off.
So for full disclosure, there are some companies where you
Hmm.
work where you cannot be a day trader,
Absolutely.
conflict of interest. So there's some women
Hmm.
that won't be able to take advantage of everything you're sharing.
Hmm.
However, just even being in the stock market,
Hmm.
investing in
Hmm.
stock,
It's the same
is
skill set.
it's the same skill set. It's
Hmm.
about, and a lot of women are wary about taking risks. And you
Hmm.
said something really, really important during our last chat that
Hmm.
I hope you remember to share again. And you were talking about, taking risks in life, and that
Hmm.
prepared you to the risks that that you would need to take during your on trading days.
Yeah, absolutely. And I worked in a space once as well, recently where I had to get permission, right? And I
Hmm.
think I mentioned that to you. I had to go through compliance to
Hmm.
make sure that I got permission to be able
Right.
to trade.
Right.
And it took a while and,
Hmm.
things like that. But these companies are billion-dollar companies, right? So you making a little million is
Hmm.
not even, it's a
Yeah.
drop in a bucket for them. So, but asking and being safe and all of those
Hmm.
things, I highly recommend.
Hmm.
As far as like taking risk when it comes to, I think we talked about, because you asked me, you were like, how did you go about taking the risk to even
Hmm.
start trading? And I was
Hmm.
like, I didn't even look at it as a risk.
Right.
It wasn't even a thought for me. Like I didn't
Yeah.
even see it because I've taken so many risks before
Risk.
in my life. And I've
Right.
had so many more challenges. And, you and I discussed, like, if you lived 30 something years, 40 years, even
Hmm.
20 something years, depending on what your life looked like, you've
Hmm.
been through so much that you had no choice but to take a risk, right? We have the fight or
Yes.
flight. And when it comes to trading,
Hmm.
it wasn't an option for me to say, okay, well, I'm just not going to take this risk. I don't look at it as a risk. I look at it as an opportunity and an investment
Right.
in me becoming better. And like you just shared, the information is transferable.
Hmm.
Um, and it's good to know. Like you need to know right now that oil prices are being affected
Yeah.
by what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
That is
Exactly.
important.
That's important information.
It's things that you should know. It's
Right.
being aware. So sometimes I feel like I live in a little bubble because yes, trading is, a lot of my life, but I do feel like there are other women out here who are choosing this as a career path because when you're 50 or 60 and you're
Mhm.
ready to slow down, right? What does that look like?
What
If you
does that look
start
like for you?
learning, I started learning in my early 30s, and I'm like, okay, well, even if I don't get it 10 years from now, I'm
Mhm.
still, if I get it in the 10th year, then that's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. That's so
Like,
true.
so it's not a get rich quick scheme. It's not one of those
Yeah.
things where it's like, I've had
The
people say
long
to
game.
me, it's a long game. And I've had people say to me like, oh my gosh, they think the stock market is a scam. And I'm like, do you know that Wall Street is a real place? Like, do you need to go touch the bull? Like, what do you need to do?
Yeah.
Do you also understand that America is a capitalist country?
Hmm.
So, yes, there are buying and selling of
Right.
things like, so whatever it takes for you. I watch a lot of documentary. There's a
Mhm.
documentary I love that's on Prime called
Mhm.
New York, and it talks
Okay.
about how America started from
Yeah.
the early people that immigrated here from
Yeah.
Poland and all of these
Hmm.
places. Um, there's just so much information out there, right?
So much information.
When I think about risk taking and I think about what it looks like to be taking risk in the stock market, but just taking a bet on myself, I
Right.
will always choose to take that bet on
Yes.
myself because
Yes,
knowledge is something
absolutely.
that doesn't go away. So even if you start learning, and let's say you work for a company that doesn't allow you to trade, but you start learning, you
Mm-hmm.
can paper trade, right? So you're
Mm-hmm.
practicing.
Mm-hmm.
You're not even touching real money, so they have nothing to say. They can't tell
Right.
you can't learn a skill,
Yeah.
right?
I'm sure many companies encourage that, encourage
Yeah.
learning, encourage
And
just
personal development.
expanding.
And
Yeah.
yeah, right. Because, yeah. So,
That's amazing. Thank you so much for that insight and
mhm,
wisdom. And I love something that you're about and what you've said is that all of this wellness and wealth and
mhm,
balance is all intertwined. So I
absolutely.
want you to talk about that a little bit and how it aligns with your philosophy. Um, in building wealth and without sacrificing your nervous system, without
Mhm.
sacrificing your peace. How does that look for you?
So I think that, for a long time, I was in hustle culture, right? Hustle mode,
Where are we all?
hustle, hustle, hustle,
Hustle,
hustle.
hustle, hustle.
This for me is the softest skill set that
Right.
you can ever find. You don't have to post content. You don't have to
Mm,
show up if you don't want to. You don't have to
right.
sell to anybody. You don't have to build a team.
Yes.
Trust me, I built multiple teams. You
Yeah.
know, you are literally, it's you and you, right?
Hmm.
So that alone is very self-care-ish, right? It's you and you.
Hmm.
You're sitting with yourself. You're really looking at what decisions you're going to make, but just also having the ability to create an income that keeps you either afloat or helps you buy groceries or just to take the worry out of your mind and
Hmm.
having the confidence to know, oh, I want to plan a trip for my family.
Hmm.
Let me go trade and make that money. Oh, I
Hmm.
want to buy new furniture. Let me go trade and make that money. That's very like, that's
Freeing.
freeing and empowering. But
Hmm.
women are natural nurturers, right?
Yeah.
So we tend to nurture anything that's placed in front
Hmm.
of us anyways.
Hmm.
The purpose that you find with trading and teaching your children how to trade, teaching your
Hmm.
friends how to trade, my friends are probably tired of me at this point because I'm always like, yo, let's meet up so I can show you the new thing that I learned, right? The new thing. And I'll pull up the screen and I'll be like, look, 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 you see? And when it does this, and you know, but I think that that in itself is
Hmm.
a soft way to live life,
Right.
right? Because you're not forcing anything. And it's the
Right.
same skill sets again that you would use when you're trading. You don't force trades, you wait
Yeah.
for it to come to you,
Right.
right? That is the most feminine thing that you can do is wait and let things come to you as they should,
Hmm.
especially when you
Hmm.
trust God. It's like you
Yes.
don't need to rush and fight and push
Hmm.
and I've been in spaces where I ended up in the emergency room because I was working too hard, high blood pressure,
Wow.
kid stress and I was
Yeah.
like, you can end up in the emergency room for high blood pressure at,
Oh, yes, you
in your
can.
30s?
Yeah.
Never heard of it.
Yeah.
And then they said to me that it's a silent killer. It kills
Yeah.
more people than anything else.
It really
And I was like,
does.
what? Crazy,
Hmm.
right? Financial traumas, financial stresses, those are the things that really makes us on edge and it makes us unhappy and it makes us ugly. Okay.
Hmm. Tell me
It
about
makes
it.
us, so I really want us to be in spaces where we feel like we can take care of ourselves outside
Right.
of a person, right?
Right. Right.
And all of those things. So yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing. And you touched on something that I wanted to ask you more of.
Mm-hmm.
It is the fact that as women, we're nurturers.
Mm-hmm.
We love to share when we hear something new. I know I'm that way. I
Mm-hmm.
learned something new. I'm telling three people that
Yeah.
very same
Yeah.
day, and I
Mm-hmm.
know that you're the same way. So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about your trading cohort. How did it come about? You're mentoring other women to see trading the way you see trading. Tell
Mm-hmm.
us a little bit more about that.
So I started my first meetup, which was a brunch,
Hmm.
because I was actually trading one day and one of my friends said to me, she was like, I do real estate. I have to spend thousands of dollars to get marketing clients, and even still, if I sell a property, I might only get 30%,
Right?
maybe.
Mm.
And I'm hustling and I'm running and it takes me months and blah, blah, blah. And you just sat here and made all this money after a nap. And I was like, yep. And I take my nap every day at the same time. You and I talked about this. Um, so she was like, you really have to tell more people about this. So she is the one who really encouraged me to like get other people in the room. So I invited some of my friends, she invited some of her friends,
Mhm.
and we sat nice and cozy in her basement, like her woman's cave. And yeah, we had a little bit of wine and a little, little stuff, and we were talking and chatting and talking about what trading actually is, and
Mm.
that's kind of how it started growing. And then I hosted a trading cohort at the church,
Mhm.
where I taught women how to trade, and I think that's
Mhm.
how you and I got connected.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it was
Yeah,
amazing. Just an
yeah.
eye opener and just
Mhm.
showing women, what we could do,
What we can do.
empowering
Hmm.
us to just go for it and
Yeah.
trading space. So
And
I
I
love
always say
that.
learn the skill, right? I always say
Yeah.
learn the skill and learn what it's about. And if it's not for you, then it's not for you. And if it's not for you
Hmm.
right
Yeah.
now, maybe it might be for you when you're 50, 60. You
Hmm.
know, I've worked with women that were 70
Right.
and they did not know technology. I hear that a lot too. Like women like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm not good with tech. I don't know this. And I'm like, well, that's why you find a me, right?
Yeah.
Because there are tons of educators in the trading space now,
Right.
tons and tons and tons,
Hmm.
right? And you have to go to the person that feels good to you. And I also
Yeah.
share my resources. I'm really big on that. You know, I've had
Right.
people say to me like, "Oh, you shouldn't tell everybody who you took classes with." And I'm like, "No.
Why not?
If they feel closer to that person, as
Hmm.
long as they learn the information, that's fine. I
Yeah.
just want them to learn. So I would share the books, I would share the resources. You know, I
Hmm.
created a free community where I put all of that stuff in
Information out
there
there.
as I'm learning and as I'm growing. You
Mm.
can read on your own pace. You can study on your own pace. You can do whatever you want on your own pace. You can
Mm.
book me for one-on-ones. You can connect with the other women. I love to do accountability. So I'm like,
Hmm.
connect with the other women in the group. If you
Hmm.
guys are both on the same page as far as learning,
Right.
do that. But just know that you have all the support that you need, right? And then I'm
Available.
hosting cohorts where it's like we meet every Saturday and we
Mhm.
really dive into it and we ask questions and we talk about what we saw during the week. And, you know, so there are different levels to things, or if
Support.
somebody, yeah,
Community.
support. And some people just like to come to my brunches. So I'm probably going to host another
Eat.
brunch soon because some people want to just come and get a taste of it at a
Right.
brunch. So I would host a brunch. We
Hmm.
would be brunching all together and I would pull up the screen and talk
Hmm.
about what we're
Talk about
seeing on
it.
the charts,
And
right?
it's less threatening when
It's
you're at a
less threatening.
brunch with
Yes. Mm-hmm.
women just
Yes.
like you
We're just
talking
hanging
about
out. We're
trading.
just,
Yeah.
listen, we're hanging out when we're talking. I read about a group of women in Texas somewhere that actually did this. They formed a group and they used to host brunches and they all became millionaires, right? And I do
Mm,
believe
yeah,
that
I
it's
think I heard that story too.
yeah, and I read the book about it, and it's really amazing. And it's so important to have people in your space that are doing things and want to encourage
Right.
you and, you know, help you grow and
Yeah.
all of those things. Because whoever, and I always pray this prayer that whoever I'm attached to, we're
Hmm.
all elevating,
Yeah,
right? We're all
absolutely.
elevating because who you're around
It,
matters.
it, you become who
You
you're around.
become who you're around.
Hmm.
So I love building community for women
Hmm.
to show them that they are not alone, right? And
Hmm.
yes, we have wives, we have single moms, we have
Hmm.
moms with 2 and 3 kids on the four, we have, you
Hmm.
know, whatever it is, because
Yeah,
we all have challenges. It depends on how we face them. And just
right.
having the
How you
support,
react to them,
yep,
how you
and
go.
having somebody to talk to. So yeah,
Yeah, I love that.
yeah.
Definitely, you were instrumental in bringing this knowledge to our life group, and you and I are alike in that sense where building community, networking is
Mhm.
crucial for our growth,
Yeah.
even for our emotional
Yeah.
well-being. It's
Mm-hmm.
just amazing to talk to women and see what they're doing, the knowledge they're
Yeah.
sharing. It
Yeah.
just gives you a boost that
Yeah.
maybe I could do this too, you know?
Maybe I can do it too. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's awesome. So, what would be the next step for you? Like, what are you building intentionally now in
Mm-hmm.
designing the life that you want to live? Because even though, yeah, you're trading, you're making money, I know there's still challenges, especially in the world that we live in now.
Mm-hmm.
Things are changing around AI, things are
Mm-hmm.
changing around, politics. So, what is the next step for you? How are you designing that life?
So I would love to look at this 5 years from now and see
Yeah.
how far we got. But the
Yes.
life that I am designing right now is I've made the decision to homeschool my daughter.
Wow.
So that is, you know, and I'm teaching her how to trade at 9 years old, teaching her
Okay.
financial literacy as part of her curriculum,
Okay.
and also really, you know, honing in on her art skills because she loves art.
Yeah, my
Um,
daughter too.
yeah, so you know, really pouring into her in that way, right? So I'm excited to see what that journey looks like 5 years from now because
Yeah.
it was, you know, a decision that, you know, you and I talked about as a
Yeah.
single mom with little support,
Mhm.
most women would be like, well, why would you? That's even more of no time
That's more
to
work.
yourself,
Yeah.
right? But it actually gives us the peace that we need in order to
Mhm.
focus on building and developing and growing, right? I see us traveling more. I am
Mhm.
open to relocating
Mhm.
actually and living in another country.
Yeah,
So
you told me
there,
that. I was like, you
yes.
are brave.
Yes, I'm really excited about that. So I am actively planning and looking towards doing that. And because she's homeschooled, like that's another thing that I don't have to worry about, right? I don't have to
Mhm.
worry about integrating her into somebody's school system. But if I do want her to, then I can, right?
Yeah.
I am thinking about starting a space very much like this, like a
Mhm.
podcast where I can share with other women the things that
Yeah.
I've learned over the years and the challenges that I've navigated through from,
Mhm.
being in a shelter, a homeless shelter with a baby to, like now being here, which again, only God can take the credit, right?
Yeah.
Because we talked about some of the things that I've
Grace.
been through and you're like, what? And I'm like, yeah.
We talked about it, and I was like, you do not look like what you've been through,
Yeah, it's
and
on point.
how God just takes us through
Mm-hmm.
the valley of the shadow of death. And
Yeah.
you,
Mm-hmm.
you'll go through the fire and you
Mm-hmm.
will not be burned. Go through the
Absolutely.
waters and you won't be overwhelmed. And
Absolutely.
His grace is just sufficient.
Absolutely. Because if I could tell you the stuff that was happening at that shelter, you would be like, how did you come out of there with no fights, no scratches, no, like nothing? We were just there. We were there.
Hmm.
Like, yeah,
Smiling. I love that you touched on that because there
yeah.
are women listening to this that may be in that same situation or
Hmm.
just feel alone or
Hmm.
be in a spot
Grab
where
your
they don't,
Bible.
yeah, they don't feel
Yeah.
like they're being seen. So
Hmm.
I love that even though you're gorgeous,
Thank you. Yeah.
and you've been through so much and you're still smiling.
Hmm.
And I just love that you could, just share that and give people
Absolutely.
hope.
Yeah, and I mean, I shared it. I used to share it a lot on my social media while I was going through the process too,
Mhm.
right? And then after the shelter, living in a room with my
Mm.
daughter.
Wow.
I just talked about this recently, and living in a room, paying $500
Mm.
and making a decision to pay for her to go to a private school while I was living in a room and making that sacrifice, right? And paying
Wow.
more so she could be
Yeah.
in a better environment.
Right.
So those are the things I feel like as moms, we
Mhm.
have to really, there are decisions that we have to make.
Right.
And I translate that into my trading, right?
Mm.
Like the decisions that I make on a day-to-day basis. So
Mhm.
when we talk about risk and we talk about like, how do you make those risks and all of
Mhm.
those things,
Yeah.
I don't look at it as risk. I look
Risk.
at it as intention, right? Because
I
that
love it.
foundation set her up for life.
I love it.
Those experiences. She remembers going to cooking classes at a private school. She
Right.
remembers having karate. And we have pictures and memories and all of those things.
And those
And
are things you can't get back.
you cannot get back.
You
You
can't
can't get
do
back.
over her,
Her childhood.
her
Yeah, her
childhood.
babies, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, the baby years, right?
Right.
I also talked to you a lot about like choosing to take jobs that were paying less
Mhm.
because I needed to be more present, right?
Mm.
Even though I knew that I had the degree and the qualifications and all of those
Right.
things.
Mhm.
And even now, I am not making as much as I was making in my career.
Mm.
But guess what? I'm happier.
Yeah.
I am brighter,
Mm.
right? You won't see me at an ER for high blood pressure.
For high
I
blood
don't,
pressure.
I
Yeah.
had to take, no, my therapist had to write me out. I had to go to
Wow.
my doctor and I had to take a leave of absence. That's really traumatic for
Yeah,
my
that is.
daughter being in the ER with me at 6 years
That is.
old.
That is.
It was scary, right? And I'm
Yeah.
the only person she has. So it's like,
Right.
what are you doing? So
Yeah.
sometimes we have to take a step back and say, yes, I want to be this corporate boss, right? I
Mhm.
want to do this, but
Mhm.
if it's burning me out, it's
Yeah.
okay to take a step back. Make sure all your basics are taken care of,
Right.
right? Make sure you
Right.
have your rent paid. Make sure I don't even have a car right now. We talked about this,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
But
Yeah.
guess what? I'm okay with not having certain things so that
Hmm.
I can have certain freedoms,
Certain things, yeah. Do
right? So we
something
have to
now
choose.
that you'll be able to, delayed gratifications.
Delayed gratification, right? And that's the same thing with the trading. It's like you have to learn now so that you can in the future. I don't even think I mentioned this to you, but one of my friends that I've been learning with for over the years, she
Mhm.
just sent me a message and said she made $12,000 last month, right? And
Mm.
she's a full-time mom, she's a single mom, and she's a
Mm-mm.
nurse, right?
Mm.
And I'm sitting here like, I am so proud of you because I know
Mhm.
what we've been going through.
Through.
Right? I know about the losses. I know about
Yeah.
the hard days. I know about the days where, you know, trust me, there were times where wine was the answer. I don't even drink anymore, right? So those are real challenges that you go through because you're looking for ways to like figure things out.
Out.
And, and when you get there, you're like, oh my gosh.
Mm.
Right. So it's a journey and
It
it's
is
really
a
about
journey.
learning yourself, self-awareness,
Hmm.
and choosing you and all of those things. And
Right.
sometimes you might have to separate yourself. I've had
Yeah.
to separate myself from friends and family, But
Yeah.
guess what? I always say when somebody is removed, I get somebody better because the
Yeah,
relationships that I've
absolutely.
built, because
Yeah.
the other ones were taking up space,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So,
That's so true. That's so
mhm,
true. And I love the fact that you are now the person that you needed probably in those days and years.
absolutely.
You're
I
that for
wish
other
I
people now.
I always say that. I'm like,
Yeah.
if I had met me
Mm-hmm.
back then when I was in the shelter,
Mm-hmm.
no plan, no job, no nothing, no
Mm-hmm.
nothing, really,
Mm-hmm.
just there, um, it would have definitely been a life changer, right?
Right.
I would have shortened the gap of where I am now from where I
Figuring it
was.
out.
And that's one of the reasons why I've reached out to shelters. I've reached out to my old shelter. I haven't heard back yet, but like I love going into those spaces and
Mm-hmm.
talking to women
Mm-hmm.
and showing them how to trade. Even again, even if they can't see it for themselves now, I need them to know that it exists,
Knowledge. Yeah.
right? I need them to know because I did not know that it existed.
Right.
It's planting that seed. I had somebody say to me, like, oh, I don't feel comfortable teaching people how to trade because I haven't really figured it out yet. I haven't made the money yet. And I'm like, I don't care.
Start where you are.
Start where you are because planting the seed, somebody planted the seed for me and I took it and I ran with it,
Right.
right? They didn't sit me down and say, oh, let me show you. They
Mm-hmm.
just mentioned it. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, wow,
The
light bulb went off.
possibility.
I'm
Yeah.
like, that's a real thing. And I went on a deep dive, bought some courses, paid
Mm-hmm.
for some mentorship, and
Ran with it.
ran with it. Right. And I'm still
Awesome.
just getting started on the journey. So, yeah, so I really do believe it really matters if you're in the right spaces
Mhm.
and who you're around and, all of those. I think it matters so much.
I agree.
Um,
I agree
yeah,
100%.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for that. I
Yeah,
didn't know we were going to get into all of that part of your story, but I
yeah.
love that you shared all of it. And I cannot believe that we're almost done. But before we end, I want you to
Mhm,
finish this sentence. And the sentence is a woman activates her purpose
mhm.
when she
A woman activates her purpose when she stops people pleasing and
Okay.
really taps into the power that is within her
Ooh.
and that God gave her. Um, that was a long
No, I love
sentence.
it. That was a
Um,
phenomenal answer, and I love that. And I want to start doing that going forward because
mhm,
activating your purpose
mhm,
for everybody looks differently,
mhm,
but it has real meaning, and I love that
mhm,
answer. And to end our conversation, I want you to
mhm,
tell me if you met your younger self, the younger Deverine from Grenada on the
mhm,
beach, the
mhm.
girl who had dreams but didn't know how she'd get there, what would you tell her today?
I would tell her that I'm so proud of her. Her hair is still fabulous. I love that she stayed authentic,
Yeah.
right? And she didn't change for anyone. She still shows up boldly, even
Yeah.
when people feel like she's too much,
Mm-hmm.
because she will be told multiple times that she's too much and she dresses too loud and the
Mm-hmm.
lipstick is too bright and, the hair's too
Which are
big.
lies, 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 lies.
The hair's too big and all of these things. And I would say that I am proud that she stepped into and also kept the beautiful light that was in her because I've
Mm,
always had a light as a young child. I was
mm,
also very a free spirit. And I think,
mhm,
again, it goes back to how I was raised, right?
mhm,
Being
mhm.
the only grandchild, the
Right.
grandniece, the niece, I had
Yeah.
freedom.
Yeah.
It was like, woo! And
Aw.
that's literally what you get when you meet me. It's still
Hmm.
very much like,
Present.
go with the flow, whatever,
Yeah.
very present, very here, very open, very
Hmm.
transparent.
Hmm.
And I would say to her that, congrats, keep
Hmm.
living, keep
Hmm.
being. And I'm super proud of who you have become and the relationships you've maintained over the years because I have relationships from when I was that age.
Hmm.
Like, and some of them are very valuable to me, right? So I would say, kudos to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love it, Deverine. And when you were talking about that,
Hmm.
I remember the verse that I love so much, Isaiah 61, which says, "Arise and shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord has risen upon you." And I believe that for you. I believe that for many of our audience members who are still figuring it out,
Hmm.
still finding their way, even through the challenges, through the successes. I believe that we all have a path that we're on, and just keeping our head up, keeping determined and disciplined, like you said, is crucial to us
Hmm.
getting to where we want to be, but also not focusing on the destination, but focusing on the journey, because
Yes,
every part of that journey makes us who we are. So thank you
absolutely.
so much, Deverine, for your
Yeah.
time
Thank you
and
for
for
this
this
conversation.
conversation.
Yeah.
Um, if you are, if you want to add to this conversation, and if you've thought to yourself that trading is something that you were interested in, but you just didn't know how, I'm going to leave Deverin's information about her cohort, the brunches in the description section so that you can reach out to her. She's available. I've seen her talk about it and she's very passionate about it. She knows a lot of information that will be a benefit to us all. So, thanks again. And until the next episode, I want you all to continue to be great and go for every dream and live the life that we are meant to live with confidence. Thanks again and have a wonderful day. Bye.